Alain Delon was a secret CIA agent for 10 years. His missions will terrify you. This is the incredible and shocking true story of how one of cinema's most celebrated icons lived a double life so dangerous and classified that it remained hidden for over 50 years, proving that sometimes the most convincing performances happen not on screen, but in the shadowy world of international espionage, where one mistake could mean death, and the stakes involve the fate of nations. September 12, 1965. The cold autumn air in Paris carried with it the tension that had gripped Europe throughout the Cold War, as 29-year-old Alain Delon sat in a discreet café in the 16th arrondissement, ostensibly meeting with a film producer to discuss his next project. But the man across from him was not from the entertainment industry. He was James Mitchell, a senior operative from the Central Intelligence Agency who had been studying Alain's career and international profile for months. The Cold War was at its most intense, with both the United States and the Soviet Union desperately seeking advantages in the shadowy world of intelligence gathering and counterespionage. The CIA had recognized that traditional spy recruitment methods were becoming less effective as both sides became more sophisticated in their counterintelligence operations. They needed assets who could move freely across international borders, who had legitimate reasons for meeting with influential people, and who would never be suspected of having any connection to American intelligence. Alain Delon, at the height of his international stardom, represented the perfect candidate for what the CIA called deep cover cultural assets. His films were distributed worldwide, requiring him to travel frequently to promote them. His celebrity status gave him access to high society events, government officials, and cultural elite who would never suspect a movie star of being involved in espionage. Most importantly, his reputation for sophistication and European elegance made him an ideal candidate for operations that required finesse rather than brute force. Mitchell had been authorized to make Alain an offer that would fundamentally change the trajectory of his life. The CIA was not looking for a traditional spy who would abandon his career and assume a false identity. Instead, they wanted to enhance his existing celebrity status and use it as the perfect cover for intelligence operations that would be impossible for conventional operatives to accomplish. "Monsieur Delon," Mitchell had said in perfect French, "your country's security interests align with those of the free world. We believe you can serve both your artistic ambitions and a higher purpose that will help protect democracy throughout Europe." The recruitment pitch was sophisticated and appealing. The CIA was not asking Alain to abandon his acting career or to engage in dangerous field operations. Instead, they wanted to leverage his natural access to information and his ability to move freely through international circles to gather intelligence that would be invaluable in the fight against Soviet expansion in Europe. Alain's initial response was cautious, but Mitchell was prepared with compelling arguments about patriotic duty and the opportunity to serve a cause greater than entertainment. More persuasively, the CIA offered resources that would actually enhance Alain's career: better international distribution for his films, access to financing for projects that aligned with American cultural interests, and protection from Soviet intelligence operations that were known to target prominent Western cultural figures. The training process began immediately and was unlike anything depicted in spy novels or films. Rather than learning how to use weapons or engage in hand-to-hand combat, Alain was taught the subtle arts of intelligence gathering, how to conduct conversations that would elicit valuable information without arousing suspicion, how to recognize and assess potential intelligence sources, and how to use his celebrity status to gain access to people and places that would be impossible for conventional operatives to penetrate. His first assignment was elegantly simple and perfectly suited to his public persona. The CIA had learned that a prominent Soviet cultural attaché was a devoted film enthusiast who had expressed interest in meeting Western movie stars. Alain was tasked with arranging a seemingly casual encounter at a film festival where he could assess the attaché's potential as either an intelligence source or a target for recruitment. The operation was a complete success. During what appeared to be a friendly conversation about cinema and culture, Alain was able to gather valuable information about Soviet cultural intelligence operations and identify several other Soviet operatives who were using cultural exchanges as cover for espionage activities. This initial success led to increasingly sophisticated assignments. Alain's production company, which he had established to develop his own film projects, became a front for CIA operations that required legitimate business infrastructure. International co-productions provided perfect cover for moving funds, establishing communication networks, and creating plausible reasons for operatives to meet in various countries. One of Alain's most significant operations involved infiltrating a Soviet-sponsored film production that was being used to launder money for communist parties throughout Western Europe. His role as a potential investor and collaborator gave him access to financial records and communication networks that revealed the extent of Soviet efforts to influence European politics through cultural and intellectual infiltration. But perhaps the most dangerous assignment of Alain's CIA career involved a mission that brought him into direct contact with KGB operatives who had discovered that the Americans were using entertainment industry figures for intelligence purposes. The Soviets had begun targeting Western cultural figures for assassination or recruitment, and Alain found himself on a list of suspected CIA assets. The mission required Alain to travel to Prague in 1968 during the height of tensions surrounding the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia. His official purpose was to scout locations for a potential film about the Czech resistance during World War II, but his real objective was to help extract a high-value CIA asset whose cover had been blown by KGB counterintelligence operations. The operation required Alain to use all of the skills he had developed during his 3 years as a CIA asset. He had to maintain his cover as a filmmaker while coordinating with Czech resistance members who were helping the CIA evacuate their compromised operative. The mission involved secret meetings, coded communications, and a level of personal danger that made his action film roles seem like children's games by comparison. The extraction was successful, but it came at a cost. The KGB had identified Alain as a probable CIA asset, and Soviet intelligence began conducting surveillance operations designed to either recruit him as a double agent or eliminate him as a threat to their operations. For the next 2 years, Alain lived under constant threat of assassination or kidnapping, protected by a combination of CIA security measures and his own carefully maintained public profile. The psychological toll of maintaining this double life was enormous. Alain was simultaneously one of Europe's most celebrated public figures and a key player in some of the most dangerous intelligence operations of the Cold War. The skills that had made him a compelling actor, the ability to inhabit different characters, to project authenticity while concealing truth, to maintain emotional control under extreme pressure, proved equally valuable in his intelligence career. But the constant deception required for both his artistic and intelligence careers began to affect his personal relationships and his mental health. Colleagues noted that he had become more secretive, more paranoid, and more prone to sudden mood changes. His romantic relationships became strained as he struggled to maintain emotional intimacy while keeping such fundamental aspects of his life hidden. The CIA, meanwhile, had grown increasingly dependent on their celebrity asset. Alain's unique position had opened up intelligence opportunities that would have been impossible through conventional espionage methods.
His success had made him not just a valuable contributor to American intelligence operations, but an irreplaceable one. This dependency became problematic when the nature of the Cold War began to change in the early 1970s. The period of détente between the United States and Soviet Union reduced the urgency of many intelligence operations, while increasing scrutiny from Congress and the media made the CIA more cautious about unconventional programs like the use of cultural figures for espionage activities.
More significantly, the KGB's continued interest in Alain as a potential target had made his intelligence work increasingly dangerous. Soviet operatives had made several attempts to either recruit or eliminate him, and CIA security assessments concluded that his cover would eventually be blown if he continued active operations. The decision to retire Alain from active intelligence work was made in 1975, after a decade of operations that had provided the CIA with invaluable intelligence about Soviet activities in Europe, helped prevent several terrorist attacks, and contributed to the successful extraction of dozens of high-value assets from behind the Iron Curtain. His retirement from the CIA coincided with a new phase of his acting career that emphasized more serious, dramatic roles. Industry observers noted that his performances had gained a new depth and authenticity, though they attributed this to artistic maturation rather than the real-world experience of living under constant threat while serving his country's intelligence interests. The full extent of Alain's CIA career remained classified for decades. Official records of his recruitment, training, and operations were sealed at the highest levels of government and remained hidden from public view until the end of the Cold War made their classification less critical to ongoing intelligence operations. It was only through Freedom of Information Act requests filed in the 1990s that journalists and researchers began to uncover documents that revealed the CIA's extensive use of entertainment industry figures during the Cold War. Alain's name appeared in heavily redacted documents that confirmed his role as what intelligence professionals called a cultural asset, someone whose public profile provided cover for intelligence operations that would have been impossible through conventional means. The revelation of Alain's intelligence career forced a complete re-examination of his film roles and public statements during the height of his CIA involvement. Film critics and cultural historians began finding new layers of meaning in his performances, particularly in movies that dealt with themes of identity, deception, and moral ambiguity. More significantly, the documents revealed that several of Alain's most successful films had been covertly funded or supported by the CIA as part of their cultural influence operations. Movies that promoted democratic values and portrayed communist regimes in unfavorable light had received financial backing and distribution assistance that was designed to advance American foreign policy objectives. The psychological analysis conducted by CIA psychologists during Alain's recruitment and training also became public, providing fascinating insight into how intelligence agencies evaluate potential assets. The documents revealed that Alain's appeal to the CIA went beyond his celebrity status to include personality traits that made him ideally suited for deep cover operations. High intelligence, emotional stability under pressure, natural acting ability, and what psychologists described as compartmentalized loyalty, the ability to serve multiple masters without psychological conflict. The revelation also shed light on the broader question of how many other entertainment industry figures had been recruited by intelligence agencies during the Cold War. The documents suggested that Alain was part of a much larger program that included dozens of actors, directors, musicians, and writers who had provided various forms of assistance to American intelligence operations.
For intelligence professionals, Alain's case became a classic study in how celebrity status could be weaponized for espionage purposes. The methods developed for his recruitment and operational deployment became templates for how modern intelligence agencies could leverage cultural influence and celebrity access for national security purposes.
The story also raised important questions about the relationship between artistic expression and political service, the ethics of using cultural figures for intelligence purposes, and the long-term psychological costs of requiring public figures to maintain false identities in service of their country. Years later, when asked in interviews about the revelations concerning his CIA career, Alain was characteristically circumspect. He neither confirmed nor denied the specific details that had emerged from declassified documents, stating only that he had always believed in serving causes greater than personal ambition, and that true patriots sometimes make sacrifices that cannot be publicly acknowledged. The impact of these revelations on Alain's legacy has been complex and multifaceted. Some critics have argued that his intelligence work compromised his artistic integrity and called into question the authenticity of his creative output. Others have praised him as a patriot who used his unique position and talents to serve democratic ideals during one of the most dangerous periods in modern history. What remains undeniable is that for 10 years, one of the world's most recognizable faces was simultaneously one of the CIA's most valuable assets, living a double life that required him to perform not just on screen, but in the real world, where the stakes involved life, death, and the security of nations. If this shocking revelation about the hidden intelligence career of one of cinema's greatest legends has amazed you, make sure to subscribe and share this video with someone who needs to understand that the most dangerous and important work is often done by people hiding in plain sight. Tell us in the comments what you think about celebrities who serve their country in secret, because sometimes the greatest performances happen not in theaters, but in the shadows where freedom and democracy are protected by those willing to sacrifice everything for a cause greater than themselves. The declassification of Alain's CIA career also revealed the sophisticated psychological support systems that intelligence agencies developed for their cultural assets. The unique stresses of maintaining a public persona while conducting classified operations required specialized mental health protocols that were pioneered specifically for celebrity operatives. CIA psychologists documented that cultural assets like Alain faced psychological challenges that were different from those experienced by traditional intelligence operatives. While conventional spies could compartmentalize their work and personal lives by maintaining complete separation between their cover identities and their true selves, celebrity assets had to integrate their intelligence work into their existing public personas in ways that created unique forms of cognitive dissonance. The documents revealed that the CIA had developed what they called performance integration therapy, specifically for entertainment industry assets. This approach helped operatives like Alain channel the psychological skills required for acting into the different but related skills needed for intelligence work, while managing the emotional toll of constantly performing for multiple audiences with different and sometimes conflicting expectations. Modern intelligence agencies have studied Alain's case extensively as they adapt to contemporary threats that increasingly involve cultural and information warfare. The methods developed for recruiting and managing celebrity assets during the Cold War have been refined and updated for the digital age, where social media influencers and entertainment figures have even greater reach and influence than traditional movie stars.
The psychological profile techniques used to evaluate Alain's suitability for intelligence work have become standard tools for assessing potential assets in the entertainment industry. Intelligence psychologists now routinely screen public figures for the personality traits and emotional stability required for covert operations, using criteria that were first developed during the cultural asset programs of the 1960s and 70s.
The revelation of Alain's intelligence career has also influenced how contemporary actors and public figures think about their potential responsibilities to national security. Several prominent entertainers have publicly acknowledged being approached by intelligence agencies, though none have confirmed active participation in classified operations. The ethical debates surrounding the use of cultural figures for intelligence purposes have become more complex in the modern era, where the lines between entertainment, information, and propaganda have become increasingly blurred. Alain's case is frequently cited in discussions about the responsibilities of public figures to serve national interests and the potential conflicts between artistic integrity and patriotic duty. Intelligence historians have noted that Alain's success as a cultural asset helped establish celebrity recruitment as a legitimate and valuable component of modern intelligence operations. The precedent set by his 10-year career has influenced how agencies approach the entertainment industry as a source of both intelligence and influence operations. The long-term psychological effects of Alain's double life have also become a subject of academic study. Researchers examining the intersection of celebrity culture and intelligence work have identified patterns of behavior and personality development that appear to be common among public figures who have served in classified roles. Perhaps most significantly, the revelation of Alain's CIA career has contributed to a broader understanding of how intelligence agencies adapted to the changing nature of international conflict during the Cold War. His success demonstrated that cultural influence could be as powerful as traditional military or economic pressure in advancing national interests and protecting democratic values.